Hello, and welcome to our session on the topic of driving manufacturing excellence, the crucial role of quality and connected workers. Your presenters today are Chris Kuntz, Head of Marketing for Augmenteer, a leader in the connected worker technology industry, Mike Gross, Director of Product Management for ETQ, which is a leader in the QMS software industry, and I'm Angela Anderson, Product Marketing Manager for ETQ as well. So to set the stage, today we'll briefly introduce who ETQ and Augmenteer are. Then we'll get into the heart of our presentation by looking at the current state of the manufacturing workforce. We'll talk about the unique partnership between ETQ and Augmenteer and what that means for you as a problem solver and solution seeker for your organization. You'll hear a lot about connected quality and the impact of this approach for your organization. And in preparation for our Q&A time at the end, please do enter any questions that come to mind in the questions window of your webinar control panel. And we'll certainly have time at the end to answer those questions live. So this session is being recorded, and we'll send a link to that recording to the email address that you provided at registration. So with that, we'll go ahead and kick off our company introductions here. By way of introduction for ETQ, for over 30 years, ETQ has empowered quality champions to use quality management principles as a catalyst for business success. Our founders were practicing quality professionals at the dawn of ISO 9001 standards and kind of saw an opportunity to eliminate paper and automate that guidance of those standards into a software interface. So as a result, ETQ offers a flexible, scalable, easy to use QMS solution that's purpose-built to help you standardize and harmonize quality processes across your organization. Our QMS solution has been successfully implemented in a diverse range of industries, from manufacturing and heavy industry to life sciences, food and beverage, automotive, chemicals, electronics, on and on. We've served hundreds of customers over the years, including well-known names like Nutrien and NVIDIA, Kimberly-Clark, Organon, Dole, and many others. With that extensive experience and diverse customer base, we don't just provide a product, but also serve or aim to serve as a trusted advisor on your quality journey. And we're here to share those best practices and guide you towards success in your quality journey. And after our 2022 acquisition, we are now backed by the strength of Hexagon. Hexagon is a global manufacturing technology firm that's a leader in sensor, software, and autonomous manufacturing solutions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris to give you an introduction to Augmenteer.
Thanks, Angela. Okay, so to give you a background on Augmenteer, the company was founded in 2018, but as a team, we have a deep history in bringing innovative software into the manufacturing sector, dating back over 3 decades. So one of Augmenteer's co-founder and current head of product, Phil Huber, he co-founded a company called Wonderware Software in 1987. They pioneered the HMI software space. It's still being used today in the vast majority of factories around the world and sold under the Aviva brand. Augmenteer's CEO and another co-founder, Russ Fidel, co-founded a company called Lighthammer Software in 1997, and they pioneered the manufacturing intelligence software space that was acquired by SAP, and again, still being used within SAP deployments globally today as part of the SAP MII brand. And Russ, along with others, co-founded ThingWorx in 2009, joined by Phil and myself eventually, and we pioneered the industrial Internet of Things space, acquired by PTC in 2014. And Augmenteer is really an extension of that history, both as a team, but also with a focus on, now with Augmenteer, technology to help support what we believe to be one of the biggest challenges in manufacturing today, which is the people. And as a company, we've been recognized by leading analysts covering the connected worker space as a leading provider in the sector: Gartner, Frost & Sullivan, LNS Research, and CB Insights. And so to kick things off, I'd like to share some thoughts on the state of the manufacturing workforce. As I'm sure all are experiencing today, today's shop floor environment is increasingly complex. There's massive workforce shortages that have burdened really every sector in manufacturing. For years, there's been a rise in worker retiring or workers aging out of the workforce. And while in the past this issue was more around a skills gap, there was available pool of candidates to come in if you're looking pre-pandemic. Today, that talent pool doesn't exist. So there's a massive shortage of available skilled labor. And this has left operations leaders with a fluid and in many cases, a very unpredictable employee base. So when you think about plant managers or shift supervisors, they're not sure who's going to show up each day. Job quitting has increased. Overall, the employment base is less stable. There is little to no visibility on the data or the state of who you have on the shop floor each day, both from a skills and a capability standpoint. And this has really placed a burden on both HR and learning and development leaders because they have to lower the hiring bar, they have to hire less skilled workers, and at the same time, they need to rethink training methods because the older classroom style training doesn't work in today's highly dynamic and changing workforce. And operations and even HR leaders, they're also faced with a mindset dynamic in the workers they are able to find. Their expectations of a work environment is oftentimes not aligned with a typical manufacturing environment, which, unfortunately is very paper-based, very disconnected versus the digital natives that are entering the workforce today. So the people in the factories still represent a critical aspect of manufacturing, and yet this has all placed a massive challenge for manufacturing leaders. How do you meet quality, safety, and production goals with these workforce dynamics in place? And at the end of the day, for a manufacturer, time is not on your side. Just drilling into some stats here, these are from a Future of Industrial Work survey performed by L&S Research about 6 months ago, 5 or 6 months ago, and they're just staggering numbers. So the average tenure rate in manufacturing is down from 20 years pre-pandemic to 3 years today. The average time in position is down from 7 years to 9 months. And job quitting, quick job quitting, so has taken a turn for the worse. 3-month retention rate down from the 3-month retention rate down from 90% to 50%. And so these numbers just really highlight the inability of today's manufacturing, the instability of today's manufacturing workforce, and the inability for manufacturing leaders to meet those safety and quality and production goals. Fortunately, they're realizing that action needs to happen. And again, according to L&S, 92% of manufacturing organizations that were surveyed or that were part of this survey report that they are taking action to overcome these challenges. And in the context of frontline workers and their impact on quality, just how bad is the problem? The U.S. Chamber of Commerce recently had a report that came out, and they just were focusing on durable goods manufacturing for this report. But they stated that even if every skilled worker in America was employed in durable goods manufacturing, there would still be a 35% gap in job openings, 35% gap in the labor, in the skilled workers capable of filling those roles. And that's just shocking. And Deloitte predicts that this issue will result in an opportunity cost of $1 trillion per year in the US by 2030. And that number obviously is much bigger when you look at worldwide. So when facing these challenges, manufacturers are asking themselves, how do I meet quality and production goals with 20 or even up to 35% less staff? How can I make onboarding 5 times more efficient to offset these retention issues? And how can I successfully train, upskill, and support a workforce that's really 5 times less experienced than it was in the past? And so this leads up to the partnership with ETQ and Augmenteer. And Angela, I'll turn it over to you to share in kind of at a high level what it looks like and what the value is.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Certainly some shocking numbers, and seems like there's a desire to invigorate manufacturing, especially in the U.S. But a lot of headwinds, certainly some high stakes challenges, and the picture that you're painting here seems quite daunting. And maybe you in the audience, you're all kind of feeling some stress right now as you kind of imagine your own situation. And you're certainly here for ideas, and as Chris mentioned, we're here to present that a unique and compelling way that you could use our combined technology to not only address these immediate challenges, but also lay a foundation that your company, your manufacturing organization, can build on for years to come. So let's talk for a minute about that foundation. So this diagram is going to help conceptualize how an enterprise QMS and a connected worker platform complement each other in a way that promotes collaboration, accountability, and continual improvement. So in the context of course, the presentation today, ETQ Reliance is your centralized quality management system of record. So your dot control, your training, audits, CAPAs, supplier quality, non-conformance handling, your risk management, et cetera. And where you're kind of rolling up all of your quality data for tracking, trending, analysis, decision making. Augmenteer then serves as your centralized system for that smart onboarding, the training, guidance, and support for those frontline workers kind of throughout their careers. And the feedback loops on the left are critical to a connected or closed loop uh, quality ecosystem. So these feedback loops ensure that the teams behind these processes have the data information they need to communicate effectively, make decisions, resolve and prevent issues. And those automations can obviously reduce those administrative burdens if you're on paper or spreadsheets today, fostering consistency, holding everyone accountable for those business processes. And in the upper right box, the dark blue box, you'll see we've highlighted quality events, document control, training management. So these particular QMS features are the current integration use cases that kind of we're working together on between ETQ and Augmenteer. There is a packaged integration between Augmenteer and the ETQ Reliance quality events application that's available today. And Chris and Mike are going to demonstrate that quality events integration for you here in a minute. And we're certainly exploring more package integrations with document control and training management. And there's many more use cases that will probably come to your mind. And we would, of course, be happy to speak with you and learn more about your specific needs and any ideas that are triggered in the course of this presentation. So ETQ and Augmenteer, we play well together, obviously, and with others. The beauty is that this is not a monolithic type system. Both platforms are integration friendly, so you can you'll have the ability to configure with other systems that could would complement your existing tech stack. So that's just kind of painting the broad picture of what this architecture might look like. And regarding that notion of connected quality, so it's more than just the front line and a connection with that, although it's quite important, a connection with that frontline worker. Quality touches every aspect of the product life cycle. And a closed loop quality system comprises those feedback loops across the organization. So from designing quality into the product at the outset to ensuring on-time delivery of quality materials from your suppliers, managing quality during the manufacturing process, all the way through to handling customer feedback on product quality and performance. And the technology we're discussing today makes it possible for you to transition from paper and spreadsheets, and we hear it all the time, so if you're there, you're not alone. But transition from there into automating, harmonizing these really complex interdependent processes. And all the punchline here is across all your sites. So bringing all your sites into a harmonized environment for managing these things. And all this matters because a quality-focused approach does create real business value. Based on a benchmark study of ETU customers, we know our technology helps quality professionals directly impact top and bottom lines in these 5 key areas. So the ability to improve decision making. So armed with a central source of truth for quality data, our customer AMD, otherwise known as Advanced Micro Devices, was able to save hundreds of staff hours per week analyzing data and yielding insights that helped many other areas of their company. The ability to improve efficiency is demonstrated by our customer EcoLab by consolidating quality processes across 170 countries. So there's that kind of harmonization across, global harmonization. They became much more responsive to changing requirements. And that really kind of highlights, those operational benefits of an enterprise, quality-focused approach. The ability to better manage suppliers. Our customer trained technologies not only dramatically reduced scrap, rework, and warranty costs, but they also, through an integration with their ERP, were also able to automate recovery of some of these supplier-related costs and recouping those costs in a much more timely fashion. So that was a really kind of innovative approach to their integration work. And then one of the most significant benefits, of course, is reduction in cost of quality. And our customer, Wabtec, otherwise known as Westinghouse Air Brake Technologies Corp., most notably known for their train engines, experienced a really impressive $30 million in annual savings in the cost of their quality programs, including a 50% reduction in tooling costs. So those costs of having to retool a line to do the rework was really impacting the bottom line for them. And they estimate adding $10 to $12 million in productivity gains over the last decade. So they're, as I'm sure with many of you out there, quality journey is, measured not in days, months, weeks, but it's years and decades, and it's always an evolving program. Finally, the ability to get quality products to market faster. Our customer Kimberly-Clark eliminated over 600 systems. It was just an ugly patchwork of spreadsheets and kind of other homegrown solutions. And that really helped them improve. One aspect was their time to market efforts by 80%. So there's a lot to be gained by keeping a focus on quality in the face of that temptation, perhaps to put attentions elsewhere, and especially when everyone is expected to do more with less these days. And speaking of doing more with less, I'm going to hand it back to Chris, who's going to segue us into a deeper look at the world of the connected worker. So back to you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. And definitely, manufacturers are struggling to do more with less. I mean, that's the common theme we hear. And when you think about the workforce side of things, in with respect to operational impact and with respect to your overall quality management system, your workers are essentially quality sensors on the shop floor. Whether it's a machine operator or anyone end of the line quality inspection manager, every day they witness quality issues, safety incidents, near misses, and other issues that could impact production operations. Yet they're relatively disconnected from the business. And so our solution with Augmenteer and ETQ, the combined solution incorporates the concept of an augmented connected worker. And this is a concept, and touching back on some of these workforce challenges, a concept where technology can be used to digitize and improve onboarding and training and move that process closer and into the flow of work, which is super critical when you think about getting people more productive faster. And then once on the job, being able to deliver personalized guidance that is matched to the proficiency level of each worker. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into this. And then AI-based support from a worker standpoint in the form of collaboration with people, other workers in the factory, or through generative AI factory assistants that can provide real-time contextualized support. And finally, being able to proactively influence workforce development through AI-based insights that can identify areas of workforce improvement. And all of this throughout the entire cycle of a worker, all of this is supported through an AI-based connected worker solution, which really underpins this entire technology stack. So now that we have workers who are connected, our AI can act on the rich set of data that connected workers provide to continually improve operations. So significant value from an operational impact. So now to dive a little deeper, I'll turn it over to Mike to talk about the solution.
Thanks, Chris. So let's talk a little bit about the offering based on Augmenteer and ETQ partnership. So by combining the mobile solution that comes from Augmenteer with our ETQ quality management system, we can offer a pretty powerful out-of-the-box integrated solution that comes with closed-loop quality. We like to think of it as an example of 1 + 1 = 3. And we're making it easier for the customers to pursue this integrated solution. The ETQ sales team is your starting point, We bring in the Augmenteer team as we're needed, so you don't have to coordinate activities across multiple vendors. So we're empowering that frontline worker to digitally participate in the quality management process all across your manufacturing processes and sites. And so we're offering an integrated closed loop quality system. This is where that frontline worker can identify issues on the site. They can digitally report them to the quality team, where they're prioritized. The quality team can assign them to different folks and go off and investigate them. And then those results can be used to enable that frontline worker to improve the process. You can give them back instructions and such. So this automation enables companies to replace, and sometimes, as Angela was referring to earlier, manual processes, pen and paper, Excel, that sort of thing. And you can replace this with a very modern digital solution. That modern digital solution could be tracked, it could be reported on, and it really brings efficiencies to that process. So next, we're going to show an overview of how that integration can be used, and then we'll lead into a demo of that implementation. Next slide, please, Angela.
Gotcha, Mike. There you go.
So here's an overview of the demo that we're about to show. We're going to come in, the example we're going to use is a company that makes fruit cups. We're going to have that frontline worker look and notice that there's going to be issues with those fruit cups being manufactured. He's going to observe those quality issues, and he's going to take his handy Augmenteer app and he's going to report that issue in Augmenteer. Now, I love our picture. It shows one of those Augmenteer workers with a hands-free device, which is kind of cool and in some places critical. So now once that Augmenteer event is added into that device, it's going to automatically create a new quality event in ETQ Reliance. If you're a Reliance customer and you use quality events, you know what this is. We use it to manage and track quality events identified in the field. And that quality event is going to go to our quality manager. He's going to see that quality event in his Reliance dashboard. It's going to appear, and he's going to go and then investigate that event. He's going to look and determine what the cause of that may be. He may go off, and we won't show this in the demo, but there is a variety of tools in our ecosystem that you can leverage. You can create CAPAs or SCARs or non-conformances, those sorts of things. But in our case, we're going to create an action item. We're going to send that action item back to the frontline worker. They're going to see that action item in their Augmenteer app. They're going to address it, close it. Our quality manager in the ETQ is going to see that that's been addressed, and then they're going to close that event. So that's the general flow that you're going to see in just a moment. And so let us begin with that demo. Chris, if you want to start at the Augmenteer site, that would be great, using the Augmenteer app.
Yeah, so let's dive in here. So we're going to start the worker view. In here, we have the sealer inspection procedure assigned to our current user here. So we'll go ahead and open that up. Again, this is Augmenteer running on a mobile device. Once we get inside our sealer inspection procedure, we'll see all the inspections that we need to perform. We can look at the carton status, the lid status, the glue status, and this worker also has access to a reference image if needed and additional help. So example images that show, maybe examples of defects for, comparison purposes on the fruit cups that we're inspecting here. So in this case, we'll go back up to our inspection checklist, and we notice that the carton status is all good. So we'll check that as complete. We'll look at the lid status. That looks good, so we'll check that. But we recognize a problem with the glue status. And so what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and trigger an issue inside of Augmenteer. And what that'll do is send a quality event over to the ETQ Reliance platform. Once I go in to create an issue, it will pre-fill some of the issue categories for me. If you look here on the screen, I can adjust the priority of the issue. I can adjust any other fields. A lot of them are pre-populated. I can adjust the title and description. We'll also attach an image, so I can grab an image of that quality issue as it was coming off the line, attach that to the issue as it's being submitted here. We'll enter that, and we'll submit that to ETQ Reliance. so that a user on the Reliance platform can advance that activity to the next level. So I'll submit that issue, I'll complete the job, and I'll turn it over to Mike here to walk through what happens on the ETQ Reliance side.
Thanks, Chris. So now that that frontline worker has reported the issue, we're going to move over to the Reliance dashboards. So you can see what happens with that quality issue. So here we are in the ETQ Reliance dashboard. I'm logged in as a demo user, and I'm a quality engineer who's part of the quality team for this manufacturing process. This is the example where we're cranking out fruit cups. So this is what my dashboard would look like when I log in. I have an overdue assignment that I need to complete. You can see that I can manage all of my tasks for the day here in this dashboard. But as I refresh the dashboard, now I see the quality event that came in from Augmenteer. So this quality event, you'll see it's in the phase initiate. It just comes in, I open it up. I'm going to go through that, and you'll notice that in this quality event, we have information that came from the Augmenteer app, the event description, the status, and some images and pictures that came along with that, all good context. So now I'm going to move this forward in the process. I'm going to assign this to somebody, myself in this case, so that folks on my team know that this is being looked at, and I'm going to move it forward into the investigation phase. So now we're going to go forward, we're going to do our investigation. In this scenario, this is an investigation of an issue. We're going to determine that the issue is of minor, it's a minor criticality. We'll describe the impact of this issue. And in this case, because we don't see this kind of issue coming across very often, we're going to track and trend it so that we could view it over time. Again, one of the great benefits of being able to have these digital records recorded as part of the system. So, you know, this is a big advancement to the old pen and paper type of solution. So once that happens, we decide that, you know, we're going to send an action to that frontline worker. We're going to create this action. We're going to tell them, you know, we've seen this issue and you need to adjust the glue temperature. First thing we'll do is we'll assign this to that user. We're going to give them a due date, when this needs to be done, and then we're going to provide instructions for what needs to be done. Again, for the purposes of the demo, we're taking a very simple example. We want them to go and adjust the glue temperature, and we'll give them the temperature settings and such in that description. So this action item is going to go now from Reliance. We're going to send that off in through the process, and it's going to get sent over to the Augmenteer device, to the user that we've assigned it to. So you see that we've got an activity here. We've got an activity link that you could look at to review that activity if you'd like. And we're going to move this into that final phase where it gets sent. We're going to move the quality event into the final phase so that we're ready when that action item is completed, we can close that. So we come back to the dashboard. You can see the quality event is now sitting in the phase for final approval. The action item is sitting out there. That's been sent to that frontline worker with the Augmenteer app in their hand, and they're going to go forward and they're going to process that. And so now back to you, Chris.
Yeah, so back to the Augmenteer side, we see that issue has now been assigned to the user, so we can go in and open up that action item. And what we'll be able to see is all the comments given in the Reliance platform. So I know as a frontline worker, I need to adjust the glue temperature. Specifically, I need to change the set point to 140 degrees. Once the user performs that action, we can go in and say confirm glue set point adjusted and go ahead and close that issue. In the act of completing that job, we'll send an action item alert back to Reliance so that it can be closed out in that tool. So we'll go ahead and complete that process, close it out, complete that job, triggers Reliance, and now Mike, back to you on the Reliance side.
Thanks, Chris. And so now we'll come back to the Reliance dashboard, and you'll notice that there's the action item in the phase open. This is what came back from Chris. Now he had closed it, and so that action item is now closed and it's done off of my dashboard. We'll go back into our quality event. We'll give it that final approval phase. We'll move it closed. You'll see the action item is completed here in that quality event. And as that closes, we will now have successfully completed this activity. So this is just a, a very simple example of how you can be using our product. This is out of the box integration. We didn't have to do anything special for this. This is, how it comes and can be received. So thank you very much. Back to you, Chris.
Yeah, and now we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into some of the other use cases of the solution, the breadth of the solution, and touch on a few points that maybe weren't covered in the demo. So, Angela.
Yeah, thanks guys for that demo. Connected quality in the flesh, in action, and just like you said, out of the box, ready to configure and really extending that reach of reporting a quality event, putting it in the hands of the frontline worker, connecting it to the quality teams whose daily job is to manage the resolution of those those issues, and making sure that all the proper information is collected, tracked, trend, uh, shared with other sites. Is it something that could be affecting another line or another site, and being able to kind of communicate that information down the line. So very, very powerful use case. So I'm going to bring it back up a level now. So I mentioned earlier that idea that quality touches the entire product life cycle. So here's another way of kind of looking at that. This is an example of a diagram that we would use in our discovery process when talking with a new customer, or even an existing customer if they're wanting to kind of expand their quality program. And we would use this to help visualize that kind of potential architecture of your system. So just to orient you here, so the green pill-shaped boxes kind of around the edges here represent those external systems or inputs to ETQ Reliance. And then those dark blue boxes kind of inside the white ETQ box there represent those quality processes or those business processes within ETQ Reliance. So this is one of kind of endless configurations that you could implement. ETQ has 42 out-of-the-box applications, or kind of you can think of them as building blocks that represent these different processes. And in this example, you can see that Connected Worker is kind of one of those many lines of communication that can feed into and out of ETQ Reliance with quality or safety events, non-conformances, customer complaints, changing requirements. So with that data, in ETQ Reliance, you can then leverage that full, and this you might kind of refer to this in that kind of overview of the use case, leveraging that full complement of quality management processes to investigate, contain, determine root cause, assign corrective actions, drive change, train employees, inform product development. So working up and down that product lifecycle stream, making sure the teams that are involved at each of those levels has visibility, awareness, and knows what their part is in completing those actions and keeping those processes moving. So gives you that ability to help you mitigate all kinds of risks as you map out these systems. And I think the key takeaway here is that you can use technology to go beyond just mere compliance or mere quality control to a stance of proactive continual improvement, using this kind of closed loop quality forward approach. So I think, and that's all. I think I'll stop there on this view. We do have, see a time check. We have a few more minutes here before we kind of dive into our Q&A. So Chris, I think you wanted to share a little more information about a few more aspects of the Augmenteer platform and kind of extending. We've looked at the ways you can extend into quality management. So maybe let's take a look at where you can extend into the Connected Worker platform beyond this use case that we just looked at with the quality events integration.
Yeah, thank you. And when you think about the closed loop quality ecosystem and the fact that your frontline workers, your connected workers are a critical part of that. I mean, there's a lot we could show in a demonstration, but there's a lot that's happening under the hood. When you think back to some of the workforce dynamics, in the variability in the workforce. This solution also allows you to digitize skills tracking for employees, and this is really critical. So when referencing what we previously discussed around, like I said, the highly variable nature of today's workforce, it's critical and essential to bridge the gap between the information that was previously locked away in an HR spreadsheet and bring that into the view of operations managers who are responsible for production operations. So not only digitizing skills tracking and be able to accurately track who knows what and what their capabilities are, but tie that into the work being done so that work instructions, for example, setting the glue point setting as you saw in the demo, those can be tailored to the individual user who's performing that action, which helps ensure safety and quality and ensure that the jobs are done correctly. And then from a work scheduling standpoint, being able to understand who is on the floor today and how do I effectively assign work. And this is both from a skills and proficiency standpoint for each worker, but also from a capacity planning standpoint as well. And then, you saw this in the demo. So just a quick review here, being able to digitize quality data collection. Oftentimes these are on paper-based clipboards today. So getting away from manual paper-based efforts, which really need to be a process of the past. The ability to digitize quality data collection gives you a clean audit trail and supports this notion of a closed loop, quality management process with this combined solution. And one other aspect of the solution that we touched on earlier is supporting workers in the flow of work from a troubleshooting and real-time support standpoint. So when something doesn't go as planned, right? Augmentir has recently released a generative AI factory assistant we call Augie. It's built on top of our AI foundation. And what Augie does is provide context-aware information for shop floor workers. If you think about the vast expanse of data that could be valuable to a worker as they're performing their job, work instructions, SOPs, training manuals, one-point lessons, user-generated content, machine readings, past job history. Augie brings this to the surface for the worker. Augie's our generative AI assistant. It's purpose-built for the manufacturing environment, and it leverages proprietary, vertically trained large language models. So it can leverage this data and provide really a single interface to the user to gain access to the help and support that they need to perform their job safely and correctly. And finally, to wrap things up here before we open it up to Q&A, what is the impact and the value of a solution like this? Angela touched on a little of this previously, but the value extends across the operation. Our customers have experienced up to 27% reduction in downtime. In fact, a lot of downtime is oftentimes traced back to human error. So being able to reduce downtime by better equipping and augmenting those workers with better instructions and guidance can help impact that tremendously, as well as a 32% improvement in worker productivity. From a training standpoint, being able to reduce new hire onboarding time by up to 76%. So significant value when it comes to getting workers productive faster. And on the safety side, being able to digitize safety incident and near miss reporting and always being audit ready from a safety and compliance standpoint. And of course, significant value from a quality standpoint. So 3% reduction in scrap costs, 10% reduction in field failure costs, 40% faster new product development timelines, all these being benchmarks from a combination of Augmentir and ETQ customers. 18% improvement in first pass yield, 20% reduction in defect rates, and a 21% reduction in product compliance or product complaints. So as you can see, real value across the entire operation with a solution like this. And Angela, I'll turn it back to you and we can take any questions if they've come in. I think we have a few minutes here.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Thank you for digging in a little more on kind of those additional capabilities within the Augmentir platform. So everyone out there, if there are some questions that have come to mind, please do drop those in the chat and we can answer those for you here, or perhaps follow up after the presentation here. And if you are interested in learning more and you want to kind of start a conversation and discuss some potential use cases that you're thinking about, go ahead and reach out to us. You can reach out to ETQ via our website, etq.com, or simply email sales@etq.com. Or if you are an existing customer, please do reach out to your account team, and we can fire up those conversations. So, Chris, how's your audio?
I think I'm online here and everything sounds okay.
Okay. Great. So I wanted to kind of expand a little on, we looked at, kind of connecting these processes between, quality management processes, shop floor processes, bridging that gap, and some of the other kind of use cases you talked about with skilling and upskilling workers. What advice would you give for someone looking at this type of solution? What advice would you give for getting the right people involved on an initiative like this? It seems like there's kind of a lot of moving parts. So what are some considerations there for bringing the right people in the room?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's a lot that goes into this when you're trying to digitize what was previously a very disconnected portion of the organization, the frontline operations. And so I would say there's kind of two areas of advice that I'd focus on when you're looking at a company that's adopting technology like this. The first is your solution should really span multiple use cases. And we talked a lot about quality today, obviously, but beyond quality, safety, maintenance, HR, training, equipment operation, all of those are very human-centric aspects of frontline operations that require collaboration, they require communication and coordination on a daily basis. And building out a solution that can encompass all of those use cases across the board is something that you want to look at. Again, quality and safety are absolutely critical, and there's a lot of ROI there when it comes to value. But there's many other use cases, and it spans across the entire frontline operation. And so understanding that and understanding the key stakeholders in your organization that are key contributors to that value chain, I think are important. And then the second piece of advice I would say is get your users involved early. This is disruptive technology in the sense that it is changing a frontline workers process from something that previously was very manual, very paper-based, very, manually trying to track a quality engineer down to report an issue, to something that is a little more dynamic, a little more certainly digital, and a little more in process. And getting those users involved early can help you understand feedback and increase user adoption as you roll it out, across plants and across regions within your organization.
Yeah, certainly a change management aspect there to work through. Yeah. Yep. What are, we've got a couple of questions coming in on the chat here, but I just wanted to follow on kind of on the theme you were just discussing, like what, as far as system integrations, what are the we took a look at that as well in that kind of overview diagram, and obviously with the quality events integration, but what other system integrations are kind of the main ones that you see on the Augmenteer side? Like I know we do, for ETQ, we do a lot of ERP integration. That's probably like our #1 integration. So what are you typically seeing on the Augmenteer side as well?
Yeah, certainly ERP integration when you think about work orders, but it spans beyond that. So when you think about day-to-day operations, day-to-day frontline operations, there's always interaction with maintenance teams. There's interactions with training and learning content. There's interactions with HR systems, clocking in, clocking out. And so we oftentimes see integration with those systems. So human capital management systems, time tracking systems, learning management systems, CMMSs from a maintenance and asset maintenance standpoint, safety systems as well. And then obviously we talked quite a bit here about ETQ and quality systems. It really spans across the board on, you know, existing enterprise systems that previously were disconnected from frontline operations, and we have the ability to do that. So a lot of our customers see several integrations as a common point of their solution.
Yeah, great. So we have a couple of questions, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but Sangamitra has a couple of questions. There might be some technical aspects that we would want to, I think, follow up with you on, just to kind of understand more of the context around your use case. But we'll give it a shot here and see what we can answer here. Is it possible to integrate ETQ and Augmenteer with non-conformity reports in ERP, and then also connecting to Jira and Odoo? I'm not 100% familiar with Odoo boards that quality team uses. So I think the short answer is yes, but it depends on kind of what you're wanting to connect up. So
Yep.
Mike,
Yeah,
Chris, if you
let
want
me
to.
just speak to that a bit, Angela.
Yeah,
So
thanks, Mike.
yeah, absolutely. It's designed to be able to integrate that way. Our integration points are very, very powerful. They're very powerful in that we can be writing what we refer to as ETQ scripts to be able to integrate. We have a variety of different integration points, which in some cases can be done by our customers, but can also be done by our services team. What I would recommend that you do is you start this out with a discussion with the services team and to have them scope out the effort, and then you can decide what sort of path you would like to take. So there are some out-of-the-box integrations that we have with Augmenteer today, but not all the apps are integrated yet. And so that would be a very reasonable path to go down. Thanks, Angela.
Great. Oh, thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. So if you have more follow-on, please reach out to us directly, sales at ETQ, and we'll get you connected with the right folks there. And then another question. So is there a way to implement or configure for some of the industry-specific training needs? Some are time mandated by federal government. So short answer again there is yes. And certainly Mike and Chris hop in with your perspective and knowledge, but kind of back to this configurability
Yeah,
from oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, Angela. Yeah, this is Chris. So absolutely, I think from a training standpoint, one of the values that a lot of customers see from Augmenteer is the ability to pull in this critical training content that may already exist in a learning management system or in an HR system. We have the ability to pull that in so that workers that are using a mobile device or a tablet on the shop floor can get access to that training, and that can be woven into their day-to-day work operations as a quiz, as a 1-point lesson, or just as a specific training curriculum where they can go through their skill progressions, right from their mobile device. And yes, can be supported from training courses that are time mandated, so the ability where you have certifications and certifications that may expire. And that can be what's interesting when you have the ability to not only digitize that training content, but digitize it down into a frontline operations platform. Then you can tie it into the work being done. And so if there is a skill endorsement that has expired, or a training that has expired, you can digitally prevent workers from completing a task if they are up for renewal on their training or certification, and just ensure that the right people are performing the jobs that have the appropriate skills at the appropriate time. So absolutely something that is very core to the solution here.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that insight. All right, well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up. We thank you so much for tuning in today and joining in the sorry, join. We thank you for joining today. Let's just say that. Are there any final thoughts that you would like to add, Chris or Mike? Anything you'd like folks to know before they head out?
I just want to thank the audience for their time. And again, if there's follow-on questions, I know we covered a lot of information, but follow-on questions, please reach out and we're happy to discuss more thoroughly.
Yep. Thank you very much, Chris, for joining us. Thank you, Angela, for running and organizing this. I appreciate it.
And thank you both. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.